Oh, Africa is poor because of colonization. I'm like, please, let's move on from that.
But hey, perhaps Jordan Peterson and Magatte Wade are missing something important, right? So some months ago, Jordan Peterson and Magatte Wade sat down for an hour-long conversation about the economy of Africa. And it was really an interesting conversation. I really encourage you guys to check out the interview. Link is in the description. And what they touched on were things you really don't hear in the mainstream media. In fact, for many, what they spoke about is anathema. Like, how dare you? How dare you? I've said something similar on this channel, and the comments I got were not friendly at all. For a brief moment, I felt the heat like what Dave Chappelle felt from those trans people.
These transgenders, these niggas want me dead.
I mean, it was so bad. Guys, it was so bad that I just had to delete the video. And I guess the reason why I deleted it was I felt people were not ready to have the conversation. Or perhaps the way I presented it was not the right way to go about it. I mean, the mainstream conversation about Africa's poverty constantly blames everything on colonialism. And to criticize the continent and the practice of various African governments can get you the kind of response Mike Wallace got from Louis Farrakhan.
You're not in any moral position to tell anybody how corrupt they are. You should be quiet and let those of us who know our people go there and help them get out of that condition. But America should keep her mouth shut.
And by the way, I'm still waiting for Louis Farrakhan to come and help his people like he said in that interview. Because Nigeria is still the second most corrupt nation on the planet, while also holding the title as the poverty capital of the world. And that is why I think this conversation was really fascinating, because Jordan Peterson and Magatte Wade were not blaming everything about Africa's poverty on colonialism or imperialism. Instead, they spoke about the need for economic freedom in Africa. Take a look.
Well, you list here in one of your articles where you make reference to these rating systems, the bottom 10 countries for doing business in the world: Chad, Haiti, Central African Republic, Congo, Democratic Republic, South Sudan, Libya, Yemen, Venezuela, there's a lovely example, Eritrea and Somalia. And so there are three exceptions in the African ecosystem. Mauritius, Rwanda, Kenya, South Africa, Botswana, and Zambia. You pointed out in your prospectus, is it prospectus article?
Yeah, prospectus article of Artbridge Institute.
Right, that Mauritius is a rising star, and Rwanda is in some ways comparable to Georgia. So some of these countries have started to get this right.
Yes.
And so what's the consequence of that? And what does right mean?
What they have understood, what these countries have understood, is that economic freedom is at the center for prosperity building. If you take Lee Kuan Yew and Singapore as your example, then it means that, like him, you're going to have to be serious about economic freedom. And that's exactly what he did. That's what Singapore did. When Singapore figured that out, they went on to put in the right reforms to make their environment some of the most business-friendly environments in the world, one of the most free markets environment in the world. And you saw the magic of Singapore. Today, Singapore is richer than its ex-colonizer, Great Britain. So when I hear people telling me today, oh, Africa is poor because of colonization, I'm like, please, let's move on from that. Does it have maybe a tiny percentage in where we are today? Maybe, and I don't know. But I know it's not the cause. Because if it were, countless countries have been colonized before. And by the way, colonizing one another is humanity's history. It just happened that maybe Africa has been one of the last, colonized region in the world. So in our psyche, it is there, and it acts like nothing happened before to others. But flash news, it's the history of the world. We've been capturing each other back and forth, all of that.
Now I won't give my comment on this right away. Instead, I'll give voice to the various ordinary Africans who commented on this video. So just so you can understand how some of us feel about colonialism and poverty in Africa. So this person said, I always find it incomprehensible when people place all the poverty in Africa on colonialism. There might be an effect, but it's not the cause. I am like, we can do better if the government will stop its corruption and greed. We can do better if we remove that thought from our mind, study hard, and be the best in our field of profession, and use that knowledge to build our countries. People that see themselves as victims will always remain victims for the rest of their lives. The era of colonialism was an era of conquest. Even within us, Africa, we conquered each other, the strong over the weak bowing to the strong. That was what that era was all about. Why can't we move on from that era and create a better country to make our nation stronger in all aspects, so that we won't ever again be a victim to the strong country? That should be the goal for all countries in Africa. I mean, that's a wonderful comment if you ask me. But you'll be shocked to find people who strongly disagree. People like Don Lemon who think Africa needs reparation.
It's an interesting discussion, Hillary. Thank you very much. I appreciate it. We'll continue to discuss in the future. But
this person who made this comment is not alone. In fact, here's another person. And the person said, as a Zimbabwean, I really appreciate this discussion. It always makes me happy when I learn of the success of former Zimbabweans in diaspora whose achievements could have benefited the country. We take pride in their success and claim it as our own, yet never acknowledge that our failed system has caused the loss of the brilliant stars to other jurisdictions who are now reaping the rewards of their skills. Now, fun fact, just to back up what that person said. A Nigerian news source recently published a story showing that over 10,000 doctors left Nigeria for the UK in the last 7 years. Meanwhile, the Nigerian healthcare sector is in a pitiful state where you must travel abroad to get major life-saving operation and care. Yes, colonialism, I guess, right? Now, here's another comment, and this one is really quite interesting. It says, as a black South African, what JP and this lady are saying is exactly what I've been saying for years, but I've been attacked by many blacks and guilty whites. South Africa has been free from white oppression for 30 years, and our idiot politicians still use apartheid as an excuse for their incompetence and corruption. If South Africa really focused on economic reform, I believe our GDP would have been $1 trillion or more. But the current government have done very little in terms of improvement. In fact, most of the infrastructure we are using today was built by our colonizers and the apartheid government. The current government can't even maintain the infrastructure and the institutions that were built by the apartheid government. Every rational and sane person knows that apartheid was evil and atrocious, but to blame a system that has been dead for almost 30 years now is just effing stupid. Our next elections are in 2024, and for the first time since 1994, we think the current ruling party will be removed by a coalition between the main opposition party and other smaller parties. God bless South Africa, the land of my birth. You see, only people in the West and really, really dumb people in Africa still think we are suffering the effect of colonialism. Nigeria was free from colonial rule 62 years ago, the same period as Singapore, which Maggate mentioned. It was the same colonial master, the same British government. But 62 years later, Singapore is richer than Great Britain. But Nigeria still begs for foreign aid from the UK. You know, slavery is over. But in 7 years, we've exported over 10,000 doctors to our former colonial masters. And meanwhile, we export crude oil to Western countries but import petrol and cooking gas from them because our government can't figure out how to ensure we have a functional refinery. Even though we have illegal refineries scattered across the riverine areas of this country, they steal most of the country's crude, refine it in the bushes, and sell it to neighboring countries. Yet, the average Nigerian is poor, unemployed, paying through his nose for petrol, and has no access to steady power supply. But hey, perhaps Jordan Peterson and Magatte Wade are missing something important, right? Yes, we just have to keep blaming colonialism for everything, don't we? Right? The West need to fund our corrupt government with aid, which these government officials will use to finance their luxurious lifestyle and pay for those young girls on campus who warm the bed of these dying politicians. But you can't say we are corrupt. You can't because we didn't bomb Hiroshima and Nagasaki. We just opened fire on peaceful protesters during the EndSARS protest. We did that. And did you know that we used starvation to almost obliterate an entire tribe during the Nigerian Civil War and beheaded those who criticized the government during military rule? We did that, but hey, we are just 62 years old, right? That's a young country. A 62-year-old man was definitely born yesterday. You just need to give him more time, right? Or maybe we need Louis Farrakhan to make good on his promise and come and help his people. I just don't know what is taking him so long. Alright guys, thank you for watching this video, and if you really love it, then please hit the like button, hit the subscribe button, ring that notification bell. We are on the road to 1,000 subscribers, and I believe with your help we can get there. So please share the video, like the video, subscribe, ring the notification bell, and until the next video, peace.